This is a More Than Just Podcast production.
Welcome to Spotcast Season 9, Episode 15, the finale extravaganza. So, my name is Timitra. I am in Toronto, Ontario, and I'm joined by Jaime Jr. in Seattle, Washington.
How's it going?
That other guy, we don't know where he is. Anyway. All right, so, and fact checks, didn't have any fact checks from last week, so it's going to be a real quick episode. We're going to head into the headlines, and I just posted here that there's a new Odyssey trailer. I saw Christopher Nolan on, I think it was Late Show with Stephen Colbert, and he talked about, working with IMAX and stuff, and the difference in shooting with the different cameras, and then he had this exclusive preview, so he showed it on Colbert's show first, and then 5 minutes later it was on YouTube. So it was exclusive for about 15 minutes. So
right.
Did you watch it?
I did watch the trailer, and it has like all the stars, doesn't it? Like if you just said it, it has Catwoman, it has Aeon Flux, it has Spider-Man getting bullied by Batman. It has there's a deep cut. The Violator as an old man, and then it stars Matt Damon.
Yeah, yeah. And well, it's interesting because he did say actually that he named even more names that aren't in the trailer. Like there's some big name people in this film, right? So because all his regular guys or regular people he pulls on are here as well, right? So. He hadn't worked with Tom Holland before. I think he said this was the first time he worked with him. But yeah, it's funny how he's got this sort of DC and Marvel universe kind of people, right? So, but anyway, so he sort of spilt a bit of the story I guess I'm complaining about something that was written 2,000, 3,000 years ago. But he sort of leaked out some of the sort of story points that knowing those story points and then watching the trailer kind of went, wait, what? Because all I know about the Odyssey or the Iliad is that Ulysses goes away for a while and then comes back, right? So, and the one guy, which actor is it? One of them is trying to. Penelope is Ulysses' wife, who he leaves behind, and he's the king, so she's the queen left in Greece, I guess, and all these other guys try, become her suitor, right? So, yeah. So. I guess that's part of the story, right? I don't know if you know the story of the Iliad or have you read the Odyssey or anything like that?
Probably in like high school or something. So the major beats seem to be there about kind of what I remember. And it does make me wonder if this is going to be a two-parter like Dune, that became eventually a three-parter. Or if this is just going to be like a 3.5-hour extravaganza.
Yeah, get the big gulp and get the big popcorn bucket and wear a diaper. Yeah,
I mean, they're definitely going to have the popcorn bucket that's the Roman or Greek helmet, right?
Oh, you think? Yeah.
I mean, I would.
We'll have to remember to talk about the popcorn button when we get to the boys tonight, too, right?
Yeah, for sure.
That's a deep cut, if you know what I'm saying. All right, cool. The only other link we have here is from Jonathan. He's posted yet another prop store auction, more Star Trek paraphernalia from Discovery, and it seems like these are the same things that they were auctioning off before, don't they? Doesn't that seem to you at all?
I don't know. This one says it is Star Trek Discovery Seasons 1 to 5 online auction, and I don't recall the scope of the other auctions. But if I clicked on random stuff, there are lot number 71, set of 3 Vulcan crypt masks. So I was like, why? What are these? These look like sculpted amber-colored faces of Vulcans. You can buy that. You can buy
masks, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, you buy more sensible things like costumes from body doubles from photo. I guess instead of the as filmed, but more like they got to put it on Time magazine or Newsweek or something. They got to put it on People magazine. The nice
body
photos.
Doubles.
Well, there's like body double and stunt double costumes, and then there's costumes that say something like. Well, I missed it. It was like not in the series. It was like for the marketing materials.
Yeah. I see. Yeah. Like like maybe they put it on them for like the stars, like Jason or all those guys, and like for photo options, right? Because I thought they had sold all the worn on the show stuff before, right?
Yeah. So the pricing is kind of fascinating. So for current bid of $800, you could get Lot 331, Michael Burnham's Sonequa Martin Green 32nd Century Starfleet Command uniform. So that's the red one that she wears.
So where's that one?
That was page 34. I mean, it's 34 pages of results. I'm just kind of clicking around. This was Jonathan's link, so we're doing our best because he probably already looked through it and found, it seems like it's mostly costumes from what I see, and a handful of
lots of tribbles. almost every page has tribbles on it.
I thought these were bullet casings, but it turns out it is Lot 226, pair of empty bronze color Vulcan Science Academy diploma tubes. So they really should put an apple, like not an iPhone. I mean like an actual fruit in the photos for sizing purposes.
Yeah, but how many tribbles do they have? Every page, like I was joking about that, but it looks like almost every page does have a tribble offering on it.
I mean, you got to figure there was probably like some intern that had to dump buckets of these at some point. So that many?
Yeah, there's Maul's phaser you can get.
Yeah, I was going to say Lot 186 small light up hand cannon prop.
Yeah.
Without it being in frame, it looked like a popcorn bucket.
Yes, it does. Yeah. Or the Doomsday Machine with a light on it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I vaguely remember that shot where they were firing like bolts at people, right?
Indeed. There's all sorts of stuff. 34 pages. 340 results. So it's split across 34 pages of just like stuff. Ooh, how about Lot 167, Hugh Culber's Wilson Cruz distressed Starfleet medical uniform. So it's his pearly white uniform, but with blood on it.
Yeah, there's one where there's a broken badge. Oh, David Cronenberg's broken badge.
A lot of Klingon stuff. I mean, that looks pretty cool. Wear that to prom.
I was paying for parking once, and the guy behind me was David Cronenberg.
Wow, no kidding.
Things that happened in Toronto. Look, more tribbles. In case you missed the first lot, right? How much are the tribbles? $400, $500 for tribbles. For 6 tribbles. How much is that per tribble?
I know people will be like, well, why not just buy? I'm like, yes, you can buy absolutely considerably dirt cheap, tribble paraphernalia from like the store. But this is presumably, I guess we have to look in. Can you click on these and get detail? It'll give you more detail about which episode was this in. So you're getting a part of, TV and movie history here.
Mm-hmm. Well, these were my least favorite costumes, to be honest with you, of all the Star Trek stuff. I really didn't like the uneven lapels as well, like the...
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it seems like they carried that on to Academy as well.
Yeah.
It's in the future now, where they don't worry about those things, right? Rubber double blade. A friend of mine runs a prop shop, so all these weapons would be made of rubber. Like if it's like a hammer or whatever, batleth.
Yeah.
So you can't hurt the... Oh, you can get a disco t-shirt. I have one upstairs. I didn't pay $300 for it.
Could you, just like they did with Kalis, where they brought him back, from the blood or something that was on the sword, could you hypothetically bring back, I assume it's Sonequa Martin Green with cloning technology?
3 bids. Better hurry. You might miss out. Yeah, and all these weird leather Klingon outfits, right? So the weird Klingons. Yeah, so let's move on to the main part of the show, because we don't have any headlines, or very many, that is. So we're talking again this week about the three shows we've been catching up on. In fact, 2 of them are in the finales. So for Daredevil, we have season 2 finale to talk about, Southern Cross, and then we're going to do Maul's chapter 9 and chapter 10, which are the season finales for the Maul episodes, and then we'll head on to the boys for another reinstallment. So, so Daredevil, the Southern Cross, this was a banger, as Jonathan would say, like almost like a January. Is it January 6th was the big day where they took over the...
Yes, it definitely had that sort of feeling. And in that case, January 6th was storming the Capitol. This was storming the courthouse, I guess.
Yeah, the Daredevil people. Yeah, because it basically was the ending of Karen Page's trial, and just to prove that that Fisk had what was on the boat that got sunk and who sunk it and all that kind of stuff. And I mean, I don't know how that gets Karen Page off, to be honest with you, but Daredevil said, who else was on the boat, and he admits, or he gets Fisk to admit that Daredevil was on the boat somehow. Although Daredevil knows that he is the Daredevil, so he says, as proof of the fact that he was there and saw what was going on, he said that I'm Daredevil. He did the Iron Man thing, right?
Yeah, and it plays with you though, because Fisk knows Daredevil's real identity, and he even tells him, whispering to himself, knowing that Matt Murdock as Daredevil can hear him, even though he's in another room in the judge's chambers. He's like, "Hey, I could ruin you, if you. I know your identity." And it's like, bro, you're playing with Monopoly bucks. I'm going to give my own identity away. You can't blackmail me here. Yeah.
So needless to say, the case is dismissed, and Fisk is sort of found guilty. I thought in the United States they had that double indemnity clause in court cases, where if something is brought up in a court in one case, it can't be brought up in another. Have you ever heard about that?
Not sure about that one. If people are lawyers, let us know.
Well, there was one movie with Ashley Judd, I think her name is.
That one was not about bringing things up. It was about double jeopardy, and I believe that is the title of the movie.
Yeah, she was put on trial for something, and then she couldn't be put on trial for it again.
Well, that was the premise of the movie. I actually did watch a Legal Eagle YouTube video about this. And in the premise of the movie is that I think Ashley Judd was found guilty of killing her husband, I want to say. But he had faked his death, and she went to prison, got out. And then she's like, "Hey, since I've already been found guilty of your murder, I can't be, found guilty again." And superficially to a layperson, that sounds about right. But Legal Eagle said, no, the law would consider those two distinctly different events. You were incorrectly and unjustly found guilty of killing your husband when you didn't. And then you can absolutely, totally be found guilty of actually killing your husband. But it's more fun to pretend hey, I've already been a criminal kind of thing.
Maybe I'm thinking about Canadian law. Remember, we were studying law in school, where if you and I were out together, right, or you and I were in the same house together at a party, whatever, and the police came in and they arrested you for possession of marijuana, for example, considering that, notwithstanding it's legal now, but when it wasn't legal, if you got arrested for marijuana and then you went to trial, and I came into the trial and said, no, it wasn't Jaime's marijuana, it was my marijuana, right? So in Canadian law, you would get off, you'd be found innocent because it wasn't yours, but I can't be put on trial because it was used as evidence in your defense.
I don't think that would apply here in the U.S. Again,
I know it wouldn't apply in the U.S. because they, if they couldn't, and if they, again, in the U.S., if they can't get you civilly, or legally, they go after you civilly, right?
I mean, the other thing is, I think it wouldn't work in the U.S. because this is how they do the RICO. Forget what it stands for, but it's basically the anti-mafia stuff of we're going to bust the lower level people, trade them hey, you're going to plead guilty to some lower charges. We're going to get you as little time or none at all. And we're going to use that conviction and your testimony there as evidence in, the
that
big
your
guys.
Boss was the guy who made the deal, whatever. Oh, that's what RICO is? Okay.
I forget what it stands for, but it's basically the organized crime set of laws.
Yeah. By the way, double indemnity is that an insurance policy will pay twice in the case of a death or sudden death or something. That's what it means.
Ah, okay.
So was it RICO, RICO or CO?
RICO. I think it might be an acronym.
Yeah, and I'm just looking it up here on the old Racketeering, Influenced, and Corrupt Organization.
There we go.
You're full of fact check today. Look at us. It's an abbreviation as well. Well, because what I didn't say at the beginning of the trial is before Matt Murdock, I can remember his name, but before Matt shows up, Fisk goes in, he gets called to the stand, right? And before he gets called to the stand, or as he gets called to the stand, all of the task force guys show up to people deep at the back of the court to try and try and show like a show of force kind of thing, so that they would put pressure on anybody in the room. And it seemed like for once the judges weren't sort of on somebody's payroll, because they did actually rule against Fisk and to dismiss the charges against Karen, right? So. And then we get a standoff. So, like, because the courthouse has been surrounded by the task force, goes out front to stand guard, sort of a reverse of the January 6th, and all the I'm doing quote unquote the protesters who are on what we consider the good side, which is Matt Murdock's side, Daredevil's side, are all dressed in red, right? They've got the cardboard Daredevil hats on and stuff like that, right? It's going to be I think that's going to be a big seller, right? But so they get sent off into different. So the courthouse is basically locked down, right? And because Bullseye, somebody dressed as Bullseye is going to shoot at somebody coming out the front door, presumably Matt Murdock, right?
I think that was the plan. I was like, hey, that's Bullseye, but it's like fake Bullseye. Probably in case anybody takes a photo, it'd be like, oh, see, Vigilante killed Matt Murdock.
Well, and he's a sharpshooter too, right? So, and that's what Bullseye does. But then Bullseye actually shows up and takes out all the task force people with his knives, and then takes out the shooter. And then he goes in front of he goes and looks up looks through the sights of the gun, and I forget who he shoots. He shoots somebody, right?
I forget what his right-hand man, the guy who killed Baby Pin last week.
Buck Cashman. Yeah, he gets shot in the stomach, right? So everybody goes in. So that's why they lock down the courthouse, right? And then, and of course, the task force starts shooting at that window, kind of, and it's like not Jimmy Olsen. It's like, who's the guy that shot Oswald, right? Who shot Olsen?
Lee Harvey Oswald, who shot JFK.
Yeah, kind of from the repository window, whatever, book repository. And that's why Trump doesn't like libraries, I guess, right? But so the same sort of thing. They're shooting at the window of this particular place where the shooter's facing, and lock down the place. So not Trump. Did I say Trump? Oh, that was a mistake. Should I edit that out? I wonder. Fisk and his clan go into one room, and Daredevil or Matt Murdock and Karen and the
Jessica Jones.
Jessica Jones shows up too, and the governor shows up, right? Because she stands up to Fisk and says, I'm going to throw the book at you, and you can see the line around her neck where she's been strangled, right?
Right.
But attempted to strangle. I think the attorney general decides he's going to press charges as well. So Fisk is not happy, and I think Jessica calls him Kingpin at one point too, right?
They do. I mean, it's unraveling because the judges were convinced by Matt Murdock at Daredevil and said, this whole court is a farce. We're dismissing these charges with prejudice, which doesn't mean like racism or some other thing. This means they have prejudged it, more or less, again, not a lawyer, and said, this cannot be brought back to court. You can't like retry this.
Oh, is that what prejudice
so
means?
bad. It's it's like the judges slam dunking and saying, this is such a miscarriage of justice. We're going to make sure you cannot bring these back before the court. So Karen Page is getting off scot-free. And what you're mentioning here is that the governor is working with the attorney general to try to dismantle all of the, what did they call it? Freeport that he was, using as his legal way to bring in all the weapons and stuff without any oversight. And they offer him like, look, dude, leave New York and don't come back. And that's the don't fight us in court. Certainly don't fight us physically, which, spoilers, ends up happening. They try to give him an out to just try to be pragmatic and get rid of the Kingpin.
So the part of it, so there's a standoff at the top of the stairway, but I think before that there's a killing spree, right? Because
they go crazy. They just start like the protesters go after Fisk, and he and his guys just start
tearing him apart.
I mean, it's crazy. I mean, we already saw what he was able to do to Daredevil, to other people, and he just hulks out on them. He smashes a guy, like breaks his back by smashing him against a corner. He's punching people in the face, tossing them like they're rag dolls. I mean, he's just like an intimidating, powerful person.
Yeah, doing the whole invincible thing, right? And so, and He gets to the top of the stairs, and there's kind of like everybody's like charging him, and Matt just sort of says no, stop, and he standing toe to toe with Fisk, and they have this sort of detente, right? And then I forget what happens, but somehow they start pummeling him, right? Or is that before Matt stops them?
That was before Matt. So Matt tells him, like, no, don't go up the stairs because you're going to get injured. You cannot fight. This is not a normal man. This is a beast. And he
so that's how they start running down the hall. They go past. They don't listen to Matt Murdock / Daredevil and
starts getting beat up. It does end up in that standoff. More people go to get beat up, but eventually it's like fighting, a mountain of ants. Like you can't. And so even he gets starting to get pummeled by just a bunch of people, and Daredevil comes in to stop him and be like, hey man, like this has to end. I mean, he could have, and it gets to like the character of Matt Murdock and the mercy and redemption and other things that they mentioned of like, it would have been super easy of like, yeah, just let this dude die. I mean, clearly he already killed some people, and what's the harm there? But that's not true to Daredevil, right? He's not a killer. We saw when he had to go save Bullseye against his own wishes. Like he got out of the church and then went back in and said, "Oh man, I can't leave him there to die."
Yeah. This is the thing. This is his sort of Catholic sort of upbringing, is that turn the other cheek and all that kind of stuff, right?
And the conversation he had with Foggy in the flashback in 1 or 2 episodes ago, where it was like, we know this guy that we're defending is trash. Like, he definitely committed these crimes, but our job is to defend these people vigorously. And we found a mistake that will get this terrible person off scot-free. And it was what do you do there? And so there is no easy answer there, as much as it might seem. And I could see why he doesn't let Fisk just get pummeled to death, despite the fact that Fisk himself did smash people in half.
Well, so at the end of it, we sort of see Fisk, basking on the beach kind of thing, right? And so Jonathan pointed out something in his point about it in our Sparkcast on the Slack channel was, I was thinking the same thing. How did they put this offer to go into exile and just sort of walk away from your crimes when like seconds earlier he was tearing people apart?
So you're forgetting the difference between being rich and not rich.
Oh, so right. Yes.
It's like, what? How could he? He's like, because he's rich, dude. That's why they gave him the option. There's stuff that has happened in fairly recent memory that's like, yep, mega rich dude gets away with it pretty much scot-free. If you, poor person, and when I say poor, I don't mean you're like actually poor. I mean, you're definitely not rich, right?
Yeah, middle class or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, you got to be rich or not rich. Like, it's a binary. And look at it this way. Remember O.J. Simpson? Okay, if you, poor person, were suspect in that same exact murders, you would be lucky if they didn't break down your door in the middle of the night with guns drawn and drag you out of your house. Although people are like, oh yeah, remember the white Bronco, the runaway? I'm like, he had the option. Hey, show up here at noon, please, and maybe bring some McDonald's with you, and we'll do this very politely. Like, if you are rich, which O.J. Simpson was at the time, you get treated differently. That is not fair. We're just describing as is. So even though Jonathan was like, what? How can this happen? I'm like, dude, you need to think about it, like how rich this dude is and how much of a pain in the neck he could be and how willing his other rich friends or people he sees at the golf course or wherever he hangs out, they just wanted to ease him out and just get him out of the way. So he gets exiled to a beautiful beach somewhere with emptiness. Whereas Matt Murdock, which maybe you were going to get to, is trying to spend time with Karen Page. Can we live as like normal people? No, we can't, because the cops have to come arrest me because I'm Daredevil and I'm wanted for a bunch of vigilante crimes.
Yeah. So we end there's this Patax USA restaurant, which is all lit with neon and stuff like that. And I looked it up. Oh wait, no,
your link is Pana 2.
Oh wait, what? Oh, you put the Patax in. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, so this is Pana 2 Garden Indian Restaurant in New York, and it's a real place because you can see the sign as they're walking out, right? And of course now they've got the Daredevil logo on their front page, but that was the it's all Christmas lights and stuff. And I should take her my granddaughter there. She'd have a great time there. But yeah, I mean, this was the restaurant that he was at when they're having dinner, and he just sort of says, "Yeah, they're going to be coming for me," and he just gets down on his hands and knees and lets them take him away, right, sort of thing, right, for Daredevil's crimes.
So I'm a little unclear. Was it also Pana 2 in the series, or this is the real world location where they filmed?
This is the real world location, they didn't say anything about what the name of the place was, but we know the scene where they zoom in on the window. That's the front window. And then if you look on the picture that's on the website, it says "Welcome to," right? If you go back and freeze frame when the cops are taking him out, it actually says Pana 2 up there, right? You can't see it. It's not very well lit in this photo, but on the show you'll see that. That's how I knew the name of the place, right? I'd never heard of it before, but I just thought, oh, let's check and see if that's a real place.
I'm shocked that it's on location in New York. I thought for sure this was in Toronto.
Yeah, no, yeah. That would be more convenient for me, to be honest with you. But yeah, so yeah, apparently it's a real thing, right? So I mean, there was a few scenes that were shot, sometimes when I see I've been watching Euphoria. Right? I hadn't watched it before, but there's scenes where Jules gets on a train. And it's clearly the GO train or commuter trains, right? I don't know if your commuter train look like ours, or maybe they're all made by the same people, Bombardier, right? But yeah, it's like, to me, it was like totally like that could be filmed in Toronto easily, right? So I don't know where they filmed Euphoria, if they filmed part of it in Toronto or not. But yeah, and I don't know if. Do you think? Did you hear that Daredevil was filmed here?
No, I just assumed that, like a lot of productions, they do some on-site or, to get some establishing shots. And then it's like, oh, is it New York or Chicago? It's Toronto. Is it meant to be West Coast, especially Seattle? It's Vancouver. And I assume Montreal and Quebec and Ottawa end up representing other cities. But those are the ones I noticed the most. Yeah,
because the X-Files was supposed to be Seattle, but it was all filmed in Vancouver. Because you have the same rainy weather as we do, I guess. Anyway. Yeah, so interesting episode. I mean, where Fisk is off the beat. I mean, like, he was the main enemy, bad guy in Jessica Jones, right? And here too. And so what I wonder though, and this is where we need Jonathan. So he'll be throwing throwing stuff at his phone right now as I say this. But like, the question I have for him is, in the comic books, do people know who Daredevil is because of some trial like this, right? Like, is this something that's in the book, right? That he's no longer got the secret identity, right?
Well, hold that thought, because that's actually a little preview of the watch list item that I have.
Oh, okay, cool.
We'll get there, because I knew a little bit related to Karen Page, but it turns out, just like Batman, there's like a billion people that know who this dude is over the, however many decades of history that Daredevil has.
Yeah, so we have Pataks here too, by the way, the sauces you posted up here, but why did you post those?
So I was inspired by two things. One is you had the Indian restaurant in the links, and at first I was like, what is he doing? Oh, the Daredevil one. Okay, I see. I have been getting a lot of ads for, how do you pronounce it? Patak?
Patak, yeah.
Okay. Before they actually set it on there, and they show the logo, and it looks wonderful. It's supposed to be this story of, like, it took, her family generations, and they show like Indian grandmas, mothers, daughters, throughout the time. Me, who does not have an Indian grandmother, was like, I wonder how that's pronounced. And in my head, especially because this is a Star Trek show, I was like, it's patah, like the Klingon curse word is what I patah is what I thought. I was like, oh, I guess it's not as pronounced. Yeah. Here we go.
Well, that's how I would pronounce it, yeah.
That's how we square the circle, Bob's your uncle, that sort of thing. It was me in ignorance, having not seen this. I'm like, man, this butter chicken curry sauce kit looks pretty good. These chutneys look pretty good.
Yeah, they're good. We use those in our cooking too here. But it's an interesting thing. Like, the funny thing about Indian cooking, I didn't learn this from my family. I learned this when I started to try and learn about Indian cooking when I moved out on my own. But apparently every family has their own, what they call a masala, it's basically a combination of spices and sauces and a cooking method. And every family has their own secret, not secret thing, but their own style of making stuff. Like, my dad used to make his curry one particular way, and I've never had it anywhere else that way since, right? And I have the recipe. I know how they used to cook it, but never could manage to match what my parents did every Saturday night. We'd have some Indian something or other, right? So, but yeah, these sauces are pretty good. We use these a lot in our cooking. Carol does all this. She's learned all the cooking and stuff, and she likes the food. So
yeah, it's a very common thing across cultures. I think a thing that people see in media a lot is Italian families where they make the homemade sauce.
yeah,
And then there's often a disagreement because this side of the family says, you need to put garlic. No, don't put any garlic. Or you're putting the garlic at the wrong time.
for you, eh? Yeah.
And it's because, like you said, the basic ingredients and steps are there, but the way that families do it is like, well, our family does it this way, or that family does it that way. And it's like, well, it's the same thing. It is going to taste a little different whether you add garlic or don't add garlic, or put this much or that much, or change the timing of put it at the beginning, put it at the end. Do you stir the sauce on Sunday, waiting for grandma to, play bridge? All sorts of things. Like, I wasn't familiar with the Indian flavor of this, but if you told me, hey, Indians do it too, I'm like, yeah, I bet you it's some sort of ritual thing that they have, just like, Mexicans making menudo, or like I just mentioned, Italians making sauce.
Well, it's the ratio too. I mean, like in my family, it would be like a teaspoon of turmeric, a teaspoon of cumin, and then a tablespoon of coriander, ground coriander, right? But there's different variations. Like if you look at what they call Madras curry, they would do, like, the recipe would be, instead of a teaspoon, it would be a tablespoon of each, and then 3 tablespoons of the other one. And then there's also how you approach it. Like what I learned from the cookbooks was, you put the oil in the pan, or you're supposed to use ghee butter, right? Which is like a special kind of butter. Instead of oil, you put that in, and then you put the spices in and the coriander, and you fry it up, because apparently that releases the manna, or the good, the great aromas or whatever. And then you start putting in the onions and stuff like that. But in my family, they used to start by browning the onions, right? So they would chop up a whole bunch of onions. So like the bottom of the pan's lined with onion in oil, and then, browned, and then you put the spices in, which is completely different than how the books tell you to do it, right? So yeah, so it's kind of a weird thing. But yeah, if you want quick and easy, get yourself a jar of Patak's buttered chicken or Madras chicken or whatever. Healthy tablespoon of that stuff anyway. And the chutneys are really good too. They're sort of spicy sweet, so you put them on the curry when you're eating it.
Indeed. And I realized that, just to put a cap on Daredevil, the season finale was called the Southern Cross. So I actually had to, ask AI what this means. There is a literal constellation called Crux. It's according to this, the smallest of the 88 modern constellations. It does have religious symbolism given the cross shape, but in culture and literary references, and I'm reading verbatim here, for thank you to the nice people at Gemini. Music, most famously the song Southern Cross by Crosby, Stills, and Nash, uses the constellation as a metaphor for personal redirection and healing. Their narrator follows the cross to find a new path after a failed relationship. So feels like thematically fits with the journey that the characters had to make.
I guess, yeah. Cool. All right. Well, let's move on to Star Wars. Star Wars Maul, or Lord Dark Maul. What's it called?
Star Wars Maul. Star Wars : Maul. Subtitle: Shadow Lord.
Shadow Lord, yes. And somebody calls him the Shadow Lord at some point in one of these 2 episodes. It's weird kind of reviewing 2 at the time, because I almost forget what happened in which one. But so is it the first one's the one? The second one's the one where they have the big drag out fight with the stormtroopers showing up and the ship's landing, and the Voss guy showing up, right? In the ship, right? Okay, so is the Strange Allies the one where they have to cross the liquid, the caustic liquid thing in the sewers?
Right, where they have a big, what I thought was like, oh, here's where they spent all the budget on this big lightsaber battle.
Yeah.
Maul.
They got all the yellow crayons out and the red crayons out. Yeah, exactly.
They get the Inquisitors. There's pew pew pews from stormtroopers and the Mandalorians and the I forget what Maul's species is called. The Maulians, the Maul twins, the Mauler twins, like it's invincible. Zelbracken something.
I'll look it up while you talk.
Yeah, I mean it's a pretty good, exciting one, with all sorts of just really cool stuff. I mean, you see real deaths happen. One of the Maul guys, gets shot full of holes, just tanks it, and then takes out the enemy and falls into the acid and dies. Like it's pretty wild. Like, you see some of the Mandalorians die because remember, not everybody has good Beskar armor. Just because Mando has it doesn't mean the Din Djarin has it. Soup to nuts doesn't mean that everybody does. It's unusual to have. So you've definitely got that really cool bit of the teams having to team up because Lawson knows the route, but Maul is the one who has the connection to Dryden Voss, the Paul Bettany character in the Solo movie of the crime syndicate.
I gotta say that the voice actor almost hit Paul Bettany's tone a few times, right?
Yeah, they do a pretty good job of getting them to be reasonable matches. I think that's pretty nice. And then it seems like they get outside the city, but the Inquisitors said, "Hey, we gotta tell the other guy that they're heading in his direction." It's
I remember what the big conflict in the last one was. Okay, yeah.
Vader, who is the mysterious thing out there that's causing trouble and kills what's her name? Rook Cast, is that her name?
Yeah, he kills her. Yeah, I
mean, it certainly seems like he killed her. I mean, he dragged her out and she doesn't appear again.
Yeah, it's funny that the first episode they're trying to cross this chasm, and they got this little transport thing, and they have to go two at a time to get away. So there's a big fight between Devin and her master, Iko Diodaki, Master Daki, and Maul, and so those three are taking on the two Inquisitors, right? So it's a battle with the Inquisitors and trying to get away from that kind of stuff. And then in the last one, or at the end of the episode, we all of a sudden we see Anakin Skywalker with his CPAP coming up and breathing heavily as the big bad, right? And so the battle in the last one is everybody's got to try and fight against Vader while they try and meet up with Dryden Voss and get picked up, right? But it's funny, what I was going to say about Vader is he only fights with one hand, right? And he's like brutal. He's like Fisk. He just constantly like hammers away at people, right? But yeah, it's interesting. He only ever uses the one hand, right? Whereas the Maul and but it's funny, when he was Anakin, he used two hands, and he like did the trick with the lightsaber over the back of his spine and all that kind of stuff, right? You see these guys do, right? So it's interesting to see him fighting, right? So in that sort of style, just sort of like this killing machine, right?
Yeah, it's very different. I mean, it's power versus finesse. Vader is going to sort of bludgeon you with his lightsaber and his force powers, and Maul is much more finesse, moving quick, acrobatic. He is at a disadvantage given one, I think, fatigue from the prior lightsaber battles, but also the damage.
Vader keeps hitting his hip, right?
Yeah.
No, it was a really interesting battle, right? Sort of to see but it's kind of like, I don't know. Are we disappointed that it's like bringing out the guy from the notwithstanding Maul, but bringing out the guy from the Skywalker saga to be the big bad? I mean, I suppose eventually he had to show up anyway, right? Because we're in where this fits into the story. This is before Rebels, right? Which is before. I always forget the timeline as to where this story fits in. If it's it's after Order 66, right? Which is the last of the prequels, right?
Yeah, so it's after Revenge of the Sith, because the Empire has taken over. The Inquisitors, I think it is pre-Rebels, I want to say, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, no, because Maul Maul gets his end in Rebel.
Oh yeah, I guess that's fair. That's true.
Yeah. No, I know that, but I mean, where does it fit into the sort of the 9 movies, right? You've got is it before A New Hope?
Yes, I believe so. So maybe Jonathan will have the ultimate timeline, because we got to throw the Kenobi series in there as pre A New Hope, post Rogue One. It's actually pre Kenobi's pre Rogue One. The Solo movie, where we do see Maul as a Shadow Lord here, I'm not sure where this is in relation to that.
Dryden Voss is the bad guy in he's the sort of syndicate lord in Rogue One, right? Or not Rogue One, in Solo. That's what Jonathan said last week. This is what the end of this is dovetailing into Solo, right?
Oh, okay. So this takes place before Solo. Okay, got it. Yeah. The timeline's getting a little hard to keep track of.
Yeah, it's funny. I was just flipping by. They had a bunch of these shows on last week, and so I watched part of the Solo movie, and I'd forgotten the one sort of really boring, like sad part of the story was he's at the beginning of the movie where he and Kira are escaping, and he decides to go and enlist to get away from wherever he is. He wants to get off planet, and he sees an advertisement for the join the Empire, see the world kind of thing. We'll teach you how to fly, blah blah blah. And so he goes over there and says to the guy, says, will you teach me how to fly? He goes, yeah, well, you sign up and we'll do that kind of thing. And he's very dry, recruiter kind of voice, right? And he says, so what's your name? He goes, it goes Han, right? And then I can't remember if he corrects him and says, because the guy says Han, and he says, no, Han. And then he says, well, and then he looks at him and goes, and he goes, and what? He goes, well, who are your people? Where are you from, right? And he goes, I don't have any people. I'm by myself. And the guy looks off to the distance for a minute and goes, Han Solo. In other words, that's how he got his name Solo, because he was by himself. How stupid how dumb is that?
I mean, it's very Ellis Island, like, I cannot pronounce your name, here's your new name. Next, kind of thing.
Well, it's funny, one of my friends was telling me that his parents came over and his uncle came over at a different time, and their last name is Eng, E-N-G, right? But his uncle's name is spelt differently because the guy who was the guy at the customs or whatever misunderstood, didn't understand what he was saying, and so his first name is Eng, but his last name is something different. But but in the family they don't have a through line to their name, right? The Ellis Island dude, right, or whatever. It wasn't Ellis Island, but here in Canada. Funny thing. Anyway, so back to so the Maul ends with everybody kind of escaping, but under duress because Maul is coming at them, and there's a couple of transports they're firing at the people on the ground, and our hero Brender Lawson is trying to protect his son, and he tells Two Boots to go take care of the son. I think he sacrifices himself so that everybody can get away, right?
Yeah, it's definitely fascinating to see, the Jedi Master having to make his sacrifice, Lawson having to make his sacrifice, goes out in a blaze of glory with his Jesse the Body Ventura ain't got time to bleed minigun sort of thing from Predator. That's cool.
It kind of it's a mounted gun, but he picks it up and just starts, blasting away, right?
Yeah. I guess in the prior episode, we didn't mention that the spy bot, which is kind of a cute little...
Oh, he kind of got sliced in half.
Yeah, I'm like, man, he died doing what he loved, being evil and sneaky. Two Boots, makes out okay and is going to have to take care of Riley. Devin, her fall to the dark side and temptation by Maul, I think was pretty fascinating because it's not like she does a 180. She's just so angry that she's open to the temptation, right? I'm going to get my revenge, and this guy can teach me how to get the revenge.
Yeah. Yeah, so... Yeah, good. I guess we are having a second season of this thing too, right?
I believe Jonathan said a second season. So, given the price of doing animation, it's probably you got to do the models and everything. It's probably cheaper to just go ahead and book, if you're going to do it at all, book 2 seasons worth of it. And so far, we've been benefiting. I don't know if that happened here, but it seems like we've been benefiting from there's going to be 2 seasons of this series, so they can not have to try to wrap it all up in one season. They can sort of tell a story arc that's contained.
Yeah, it's an interesting drawing style because it is a lot of 3D. There's a lot of 3D modeling that's done in this thing to make it look semi-realistic. But it's got that got like that hand painted kind of style to it. Like if you look at like Maul up close, even his clothing, he doesn't look like he's like pristine or whatever. He's kind of rendered, and with brush strokes, dry brush kind of thing, right? Whereas Vader, I think Vader looked pretty pretty clean. I can't remember how he looked in the show, but yeah, it's kind of I like the style. It's sort of a mix of accurate and sort of hand painty kind of stuff, right? Like it's funny, Maul looks different here than he does in Phantom Menace. In Phantom Menace, it almost looks like makeup or face tattoos or something, right?
Yeah, the brush stuff, the texturing and everything is pretty fascinating in this series.
Well, because I also watch it on Vision Pro, so I'm watching it really big. Really good, really close, right?
Now, a word from our sponsor. Now, back to the show.
All right, so then we have a big surprise episode of The Boys to get through. Though the Heavens Falls, the title, episode 6 of season 5. So we got a few more to go before the big reveal. But yeah, so they what's the name of the valley? What's the name of the place that the old age people are at? The Weeds or something.
I was like, they go to like Vought something or other, right? It's like it's all Vought name. Man, I'm drawing a blank as to what they call the
retirement home. Yeah, it's an old folks home for soups. But yeah, and so the gang is heading towards trying to find the forgot the name of the guy, Battle Storm or something.
Bomb site.
Yeah, he's the other guy that came up with Soldier Boy, and so they both have V1 in their blood, but he apparently has some V1, or he took some V1 at some point. And he's got a partner, Geisha girl or something they call her. What do they call her?
Golden Geisha, I think they called her.
Yeah, Golden Geisha, and she's now old, and so they kidnap her to try, or our pals, Butcher and gang, kidnap her to try and get her to use her as bait to call out Bomb Site, right? Who apparently has some B1. I thought she had it because she kept at one point she sort of says, "Do you want me to give it to you?"
I think she thinks she has it all figured out, which does come into play at the very end of the episode. And so it's probably like, oh, I don't literally have it in my pocket, but I could just manipulate the strings and I can make it happen, kind of thing.
But he does have it in his pocket.
Oh, I thought you meant not Sister State. You were talking about Bomb Site. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Bomb Site,
where he's like, "Do you think I'm stupid that I brought it with me?" And he's like, "Bro, it's obviously that square bulge in your pocket." Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, so they they kidnap her and try and get her to, and of course the Paul Reiser guy is in there, and yeah, he's the only one that sort of survives Homelander's wrath, right? Because he just sort of talks plainly to him, says, "I really don't care," right, sort of thing, and he just Homelander looks at him and says, "You can go."
Yeah, I mean, he's like, "You're telling me all this.
Just go.
You're telling me all your evil plan because I'm definitely not making it out alive, right?" And he gives him this crazy mentorship, and maybe that's what ended up saving his life. But hey, this guy has no reason. He should be begging for his life. He's given up, and yeah, I'm no longer amused by the idea of killing you. So yeah, leave.
Yeah, and so I can't remember. So the funny part of the story is that one of the B plots is they decide they're going to put this pipeline in through the Bering Strait, which of course they have to tell the Deep the Bering Strait in Alaska because he thought it was in Africa or something. But they have him do a PSA about how wonderful it is, even though he says all his fish friends hate the pipelines. And then there's a huge oil spill, and the Deep has to go and rescue people. He's covered in oil himself; he can't breathe. And one of his fish friends buddies says to him, "We know it was you," kind of thing, as he takes his last breath, right? And so the Deep's in deep, right? And then he goes back and he's doing his podcast with Noir, right? And Noir says, "Well, this is my payback for you killing my mentor. I went down to where your pipeline is and punched a hole in it, right, and caused this to happen." And so the Deep loses it and takes out the second Noir and with the faux Noir, right? And then realizes, "Oh, what have I done?" kind of thing, right? So the Deep has some interesting stuff happening. So that's how we lose another one of the soups. Is Noir is no longer taken off the table, and it turns out the Sister Sage shows up at one point in Butcher's hideout or something like that, and sort of says, "I'm with you. I don't want Homelander to become immortal either, right?" So she decides to help, and she makes an alliance with Soldier Boy to get the V1 away from, get it into his hands. And I mean, because it was kind of like Soldier Boy had been saying for the last couple of episodes, "I don't want Homelander to have it," to his face, right? "I don't want you to be immortal," right, kind of thing. And because I guess the V1 makes Soldier Boy immortal too, right?
Yeah, and it was so crazy, dangerous, and low likelihood that Soldier Boy was one of the few who survived the original V1, and so yes, future ones that were like good for Homelander, but Homelander ages, and they do show Sister Sage trying to reverse engineer in whether they have
I don't know. She's not really trying very hard, though. It turns out.
Yeah, but like what are they, like 37 test subjects in, and the guy just like violent bloody diarrhea to death.
Yeah, and we're kind of bouncing all over the place. But Bombsight does show up at one point because and then Homelander kind of hears that the lady's been doing those medical alert things. They wear Vault Alert or whatever bracelet or necklace, or I've fallen and I can't get up kind of thing. And turns out, so he finds out where she is, and he shows up, right? But Bombsight shows up, and so Bombsight and Soldier Boy are having to knock down, drag him out kind of thing, and Soldier Boy says, "If you don't want, like, because the geisha lady and Starlight and Kiko, what's her name?
Kimiko.
They decide they don't want to be immortal, right? So that's why the geisha lady hasn't taken the V1. She wants to age out, right? She doesn't want to live forever and be miserable. And so Soldier Boy tells Bombsight after they've had at the end of their fight, he says, "If you want, I can basically remove your immortality, right, with my special powers." And so he just blasts. They agree, and he blasts Bombsight, and I guess whatever his energy is takes away Bombsight's immortality, right?
It burns off the V, the compound V in your system. That's what they were going to do last season or the season before, when they unfroze Soldier Boy, and we're going to try to use him to take away the powers of Homelander by burning out all the V, compound V in his body.
Yeah, because because these guys they're made soups, right? They're made by soups by getting the compound V, not by being born this way, right?
Yeah, right.
Anyway, so at the end of the episode, we're surprised to find that once Soldier Boy has the hypodermic with the V1 in it, he gives it to Homelander, who immediately shoots up with it, and now he's supposedly immortal, and that's how we have to survive the next 3 episodes, I guess, right?
Yeah, Sister Sage is like, hoist by her own petard, where her whole plan here was to try to, double cross Homelander, go live in her own little bunker with Taco Bell Crunch Wraps and endless books to read. But yeah, Homelander's going Super Saiyan or something here, because all this energy is coming flooding out of his eye beams, like he can't even control it anymore. That's how much energy the compound of the V1 is giving him.
Yeah, and it's funny because in the middle of the episode, when Homelander discovers that they go into he's talking to the Legend, right, which is the Paul Reiser character, and he picks up he goes, "Yeah, here's some evidence." He picks it up and looks at it, goes, "Oh, it's just a receipt," and throws it down, and Homelander picks it up and looks at it and realizes it's a Taco Bell receipt, and that obviously it's Sister Sage, right? Because it's her favorite order.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting goodness here. So we've seen that Sister Sage, because she's so smart, she sometimes lobotomizes herself, knowing that her brain will grow back, and she just wants to relax and watch trashy TV and have intercourse with the Deep. I want to say that she did, and it's I have to say it hits me as a bit of as a knowledge worker, right? Where people ask me, why did you watch very sort of religiously trashy TV like New Amsterdam? So New Amsterdam was like a medical drama. It was an insane drama, and I told people because if you're out there digging ditches, like you come home, you rest with a beer at the end of the day, right? You don't want to use your muscles. For me, I don't use my muscles. I use my brain. My brain needs to turn off and watch something like a popcorn movie. It's why I advocate for like Pacific Rim or Stealth or trashy regular TV on broadcast like New Amsterdam. I'm like, is this a train wreck? Yes. Am I enjoying myself not really thinking and just kind of going for the ride? Also, yes. So the Sister Sage Taco Bell crunch wraps and watching reality TV, I'm like, yeah, that tracks. I kind of understand. The other thing was, what do we call her? Golden Geisha was simultaneously a very racist stereotype from like Vought's television history, but also representation such as it was for Kimiko, which is like, hey, I looked up to you because like I saw somebody who looked like me on TV. And then they had the like very racist Indian stereotype guy. I forgot what he was called. Where it's like, great spirit tells me that like this is the way we should
Tomahawk.
go. Yeah. And the old guy,
the fight with the seniors. The guy who has, boy.
Yeah, well, I mean, in the choice between stretchy testicles and stretchy phallus, I'm going stretchy phallus all day long. Like, I don't know how useful it is in your regular life to have stretchy testicles.
Yeah, you couldn't wear boxer shorts. You'd have to wear briefs, right?
Yeah, but ladies might like the stretchy phallus. You've got options there. The stretchy testicles seems like a real bad kind of thing to have.
Yeah, they were fighting against the Supes who have powers, right? Because they knock out the geisha woman and they put her in a wheelchair and they're trying to wheel her out quietly. And of course, Busher's like blasting through the doors. And what did he think was going to happen, right? And so they have a knockdown, drag him out fight with a bunch of senior Supes, right? Yeah, crazy show. Still a crazy show. So yeah, we have to wait for next week when now that Darth Vader has taken the V1, right?
Indeed. We've got 2 episodes left in this final season, so it kind of makes sense that it would amp up the stakes right here. They're gonna have to spend 2 episodes dealing with a rejuvenated Homelander. Well,
we don't know that Homelander will be 100% after having taken this shot, because we didn't see because not everybody has a great time with it, right? Although he is probably the strongest Supe on the planet at this point, right?
Yeah, and given the instant out-of-control power boost, I mean, you see people get adrenaline. People say, like, a tiny little 100-pound mother lifts, this 3,000-pound car off of her child to save it. Like, yes, adrenaline, you unlock everything is crazy, but the crash is hard when, like, you're redlining your body. So we'll see if Homelander snaps back and is A-okay, or is he going to be kind of in a refractory period, so to speak, of weakness at the moment.
Cool. All right. We're ready to move on to the watch list?
Sure.
What do you got for us?
So mine is entitled Daredevil, Every Time Matt Murdock's Identity Was Revealed in the Comics. So there's at least a top 10. But what I thought was interesting is I knew that Karen Page knew his identity in the comics and sold his identity for drugs. And as the article here says, that like their relationship got bad after she thought Matt Murdock died because he faked his death, and he ultimately revealed that he was Daredevil. That really messed with their relationship. So she apparently left New York, went to LA, tried to pursue a film career, and just like the trope, ended up with drugs and pornographic film roles. So when she had nothing else to sell, she sold according to here, I'm just reading here, sold the only valuable information she had left, which was Daredevil's identity.
Oh, it's not a video, it's an actual article?
No, it's an actual article. It's like the top 4. And so I knew I had seen this particular panel of the comics that like Daredevil, okay, I said it. I said the name. And so I thought it was kind of interesting how in this story, it's not Karen Page per se who reveals the identity. It's Matt Murdock himself. But I think it's a little, tip of the cap to, because of circumstances surrounding Karen Page, Matt Murdock's identity as Daredevil is revealed.
Daredevil is Matt Murdock? What? I'm just reading some of the panels. Inconceivable.
revealed his identity in court to avoid blackmail. Daredevil number 36, 2014. He revealed his own identity in court while on the stand and fully embraced his celebrity. So yeah, this is from CBR.com. We'll have this in the show notes for those of you transporting it home. But there's like a bunch of people. What is it? Dr. Van Eyck, exposed by Spider-Man. Machine Smith figures it out. Matt Murdock reveals to Karen Page. Put together by a TV news station. Like the evening news figured it out. I mean, that's Purple Man, which is Kilgrave's character, which I think Kilgrave was the name of the David Tennant character in Jessica Jones. Karen Page, which we mentioned, leaked using Ben Urich's stolen files. An FBI agent leaked Daredevil's, and what I mentioned, number one, revealed his own identity in court to avoid blackmail.
So my pick is Euphoria. I finally got around to start watching Euphoria. I've just spent the last couple of days catching up on season 1 because I know season 3 is out now, and I didn't know I was that far behind. I don't know if have you watched any of it yet?
I haven't. No.
It's kind of like Game of Thrones set in a high school.
Okay, I see.
Yeah, it's well, I mean, Zendaya plays this main character who's she's an addict, right? So she's got issues, but the school she goes to, and it's really interesting. I think if you're a parent of preteens or even teenagers, I think this is a really interesting show to watch because, I mean, when I went to high school, we had cigarettes and liquor and pot if you were a smoker kind of thing, right? And then we had jocks who were generally clean, or so it seemed. So alcohol was their thing, but and the sort of cliques that you have, right? Well, in this case, flash forward, we've got people on social networks. You have kids, in relationships sharing nude body parts with each other, and then breaking up, and then realizing that they're in possession of child pornography because all of these kids are under 18, kind of thing, right? And there's relationships with adults that occur. The Jacob Elordi character is like, he's the one guy you want to hate in this entire thing. It's kind of like Jaime Lannister kind of character. He's very manipulative, and then there's the relationship with his dad, and his dad's sort of involved in some of these things, suspicious stuff. His dad's like the big contract guy. He's built all the buildings, and he's keeps winning the chili contest at the carnival and stuff like that, right? And then there's all these different sort of like there's a circle of girls, right, who are and this is where Sydney Sweeney came from, and Zendaya was in other things before this, but this is kind of one of her breakout roles, right? There's a really interesting actress, a trans actress, who's just phenomenal. And then there's the overweight girl that's she has body shaming issues, but she turns that around into like a business. And one of the dropouts from the high school that they all grew up with is like, he's a huge drug dealer kind of thing. And yeah, it's HBO, so it's like no punches are pulled, right? But yeah, it's literally like Game of Thrones is set in a modern day high school. But if you're, like I said, if you're parents of a preteen or you're parents of a teenager right now, you should watch this show just to see what kind of stuff could be going on, and why. You and I both know from having covered tech for the last 10, 12 years, right? Mm-hmm. That there's no point in going after Twitter or Facebook or Signal or, what's the new one with a T? Anyway, Terminal, what's the new one called?
I'm not sure. The whole Fediverse area, I've not really followed along.
Anyway, there's a new one that's sort of encrypted end-to-end chats kind of thing, but it's one of the ones I have not installed, but I've tried Signal. I've tried all the ones that are sort of out there, but yeah, it's I mean, like there's adults taking like dealing with kids and all that kind of stuff that goes on, and it's really kind of upsetting to sort of see, like, to watch it happen, and me as a technology person watching how these kids just take advantage of this stuff and in positive and negative ways, right? So yeah, it's pretty interesting. So, and I mean, it takes place in California, so I don't know if it's like this everywhere, but yeah, I think it potentially could be, because I think that's the one thing about the internet, revealing everything, is when I grew up, you had to know where to go to find information, right? like whether it was digital or, I mean, we had books and stuff like that, libraries and stuff like that, and you could find, videos and movies and stuff like that. But you had to, like, if you wanted to get like inside information on Apple or whatever, or software or things like that, you had to specifically know where to go. Now, you just open up an AI agent and ask, right? And it goes and aggregates all this information from across the world and tells you in 2 seconds, some accuracy, but at least it's able to do that, is to go and pull all this stuff from everywhere. So there's no information. I mean, we didn't have, if it was porn, it was like somebody would steal a Playboy from their dad's, under the bedroom or under the bed and bring it to school kind of thing and share it with everybody kind of thing. That's how we got porn. But now it's just, you open a browser,
It's why safe search in Google is on automatically, because there was
yeah, but you can turn it off though.
I mean, you can, but it's like filter everything by default, because so much of it is, not safe for work. I remember, I want to say late 90s, like very early, not of the internet, but of the web, where the evening news story was like, this mother was just trying to, educate her daughter, and they searched for the word girl. And I was like, oh no, I wouldn't have done that. Like, you thought you were going to find topics that are appropriate for girl. And no, this is not that. And it has gotten me on this long-winded rant where people are trying, across various governments and everything, like, solve the problem of, like, how do you make things safer for kids, but also not hurt, freedom of speech and etc. And I'm kind of leaning towards the side of, like, well, let me ask you a question. Are we trying to make the freeway safer for kids to be on? No. Right? Are we trying to make bars safer for kids? And now, granted, there are breweries, which I would not call bars, breweries that are family friendly. They have like a little kiddie playpen area. So, like,
the ball pit,
late 20s to early 30s, 40s people can, like, enjoy beer, but, like, let the kids, it basically like a McDonald's playland kind of thing. Like, that is very different than let's go get drunk after work. Let's go hook up with somebody. I'm talking bars. Should bars be made to be friendlier for kids? If the answer is no, perhaps we were mistaken as a human species when we said, hey, everybody in the world can connect to everybody else unfettered. I don't know. There's a lot of benefits to it for sure. You're in Toronto. Jonathan's fallen off the edge of the map, apparently, and I'm over in Seattle, and that would be very difficult if we couldn't easily contact each other. At the same time, pedophiles can reach out to kids in, like, Roblox and Minecraft, and that's a serious problem. So I don't know how you solve for that.
I mean, like, you're right. I mean, we had IRC before Slack came along, but, I've been on Slack since 2014, around there, right? So what is that, 12 years? Yeah, right. You and I have been talking since we met in 2010 or 2011, right? And Mark, the same thing. But, there's no distance between us, and though, we've only been in the same room like 3 or 4 times, right? But yeah, I've been chatting with people on Slack around the world for a long time, and I've, people of all ages, right? I mean, at one point, I think the youngest author on Kodaco or Ray Wenderlich at one point was probably 12 or 13, and he was just hanging out with us, old people, like I'm older than most of the people on Kodaco, but, there's a few people my age, but, like, most of the people are, 10, either your age or 10 years younger, right? So, yeah, it's kind of I like the democratization of information, but I don't like the fact that people suck, and there's the bad side of it, right? So, and that's what's really surprising about the show like Euphoria is how it explores how easily it can become bad, right? Or bad influence on people, right?
It has a price, like everything, right? I've often said, in fantasy, there's always a price for magic. You see it in Harry Potter, you see it in Lord of the Rings, you see it in Dungeons and Dragons. And if you accept the idea that any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic, it feels like it really works out that, like, yes, there is a price to having this crazy powerful AI, and it's and environmental costs that we're dealing with right now.
Yeah, and Bitcoin and things like that. It's just all this stuff that makes it. I mean, at one point, there's this one kid. He's like, I don't know. He's under school age, right? And he works with his brother as a drug dealer. And this one girl comes to him. She discovers this ability to make money, and somebody offers her money in Bitcoin. She's like, "What is this Bitcoin thing?" And he says, "Oh, it's just a way of getting transferring money." And she says, "Yeah, but is it like anonymous?" He goes, "That's 100% the idea behind it, right? Is you don't know where the money's coming from or where it's been or where it's going, kind of thing. Like it's like you and I talk about it from the banking point of view because we both work for banks. It's supposed to be this this ledger that kind of moves from machine to machine, and there's no one central source of truth. It's kind of a shared source of truth. But by the same token, though, it's anonymized, right? So you really can't trade, like when in banking we had the whole know your customer and you look for signs of money laundering and political influence and that kind of stuff. And when people are trying to open accounts and stuff like that, we have all those questions you have to ask them, right? But with Bitcoin, it's like we don't care. Like Elon Musk doesn't care and Mark Zuckerberg doesn't care at the end of the day, like they say they care, but they don't really, I was going to say that's the danger of this whole thing is like, for those of us like you and me who understand the technology and understand the pitfalls and the dangers and stuff, and then you give this to, a 15-year-old kid and they don't have the same world experience that we have. Plus they don't, I keep seeing this in TV shows, but apparently they don't have the fully formed frontal cortex as well, right? But you don't get to you're like 25 or something, right?
Yeah, it's just an everlasting challenge for this sort of stuff, which is why we have these stories. We love these framings, these narratives. I do wonder about where things are going. Is my old man line in the sand going to be, golly, Grandpa, why do you pay with tap to pay? That's so old fashioned. Just use your Apple iChip. Blink twice to pay. I'm like, no, I refuse to do the implant. It's not that hard. I'm still wearing the watch. Oh, Grandpa. It's like my mom still pays with stuff in person with checks. It's like the worst possible thing. It drives me nuts. But that was her line in the sand from a banking standpoint and technology stuff. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. There's going to be something where I say the world has gone too far and I will refuse to move somehow. And I don't know what it is.
Well, your partner's tech savvy, right? I think to a certain extent, right? And mine isn't, right? Yeah, I mean, I have a hard enough time explaining to her that when she gets on the highway, just reach down and push the hybrid button so you're not wasting electricity on the highway because you chew through it in like no time, right? So save some for when you get off the highway kind of thing, right? And yeah, she just won't even reach down and push that button, sort of thing. And it tap to pay. And I mean, I don't think she quite has got tap to pay, even though I showed it to her like several years ago. Right. So, and forever, we have like 3 or 4 credit cards and I get notifications on when money's spent on them, but it's like, there's no rhyme or reason as to which one she uses. Whereas every time I walk up to a terminal, I'm using my watch to pay and that's going through my personal bank account. But if I ever have a business reason to pay, I have to reach in my wallet and pull out my Visa card, and because my bank refuses to let me have that on a device, right? Which is ironic, and dumb. Come on, Royal Bank, let's get with the program, right?
It's surprising. So my significant other is a UX designer by trade and background. And she eventually started asking me questions. I said, wait a minute, what are you doing? Why are you asking me this question? And I was like, you sound like you're doing development work. Are you doing development? She's like, no, I'm using Claude code. And apparently part of the steps was it failed installing like Node.js or NPM or something. I was like, why are you installing? She's like, well, that's what it said. I'm like, are you serious? Let me see. Let me look through your history. What is this AI telling you to do? And so I do wonder, if your significant other will cross that line as well. And you'd be like, what are you doing? And it's like, oh, because Claude Code or Gemini told you to do this thing related to your hobbies, your interests, your business, whatever it is.
Craziness.
So many designers right now, because Figma now offers an MCP server, are struggling real hard figuring out all these developer tool things. I'm like, oh my gosh, this command line is killing me. What is, it's this dependency that's a sub-dependency of this other thing. Let me go figure that out and fix it. All the stuff we battle with as developers, they are being thrown in like babes in the woods of like, oh no, you haven't built up the muscle of, let me go Google this thing, find Stack Overflow, and then ask the AI, is this how I fix this stupid compiler error? What do you mean you can't find the header file? The header file is right there. It is next to the implementation file.
Yeah. I guess that's it for another week. So, hey, if people get in touch with you, where would they find you?
I'm on Instagram as @DevWithAHair.
All right, and my name is Dimitra, Timmitra, and you can find me on Blue Ski, and Mastodon Ski, and A, and Substack, and Instagram if you want. But until next time, we'll see you in the future. Bye. Bye, bye, bye.
You've been listening to the Spotcast podcast. If you want to find out more about the podcast or see the episode show notes, visit the Spotcast website at spotcast.com. If you have feedback or questions, you can get in touch with us on the website. If you like the show, please consider recommending us to a friend, writing a review on iTunes, or pledging any amount at patreon.com/spotcast. You can find details on how to help us on our website, spotcast.com/sponsor us. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the future.
Card from Home Depot, yay! But I don't know how to put it on my computer. Or it's like they give me a code and a barcode and a PIN number, but like what the heck? I guess I'll have to print this page and save it as a PDF, right?
So I'm a little unclear. Is it a gift card or like a rebate or coupon?
Well, it's for like I have a contractor account, I guess, with so whenever I go in, I just enter an ID and then I have to put up like a purchase order number when I buy stuff. Here, save to file, so it'll save it as a PDF. That's what I want. I just earned myself a nice little $10 gift. So from Home Depot, thank you very much.
So you were trying to figure out how you can use it?
Yeah.
Well, it's funny you should make this is accidental more than just code podcast now, because I don't have the article in front of me, but I saw the rumor, and I think it's a Mark Groman rumor, that Apple will allow you to create arbitrary passes as a user, not as a developer, as a user.
iOS 27, yeah.
Yeah. So like perhaps in a month or two, whenever they release that in the betas, you'll be able to add that thing. And instead of like a filthy animal having to save and then print the thing, print. What are you talking about? Dead trees? Like I should be able to use a NFC or QR code or pass, or something.
But I have this app actually that I think it was called Stocard that would let me put, like, I could put the code in and the pin, and it would make it like a little and I put it in my wallet, right?
Yeah, so I think it was like 9to5Mac or Cult of Mac or something. People in the comments were like, "Oh, but there's all these apps." I'm like, yes, of course there are apps that do stuff like this, but this. Apple is now saying, "Hey, rando person on the street, now you can be like, oh, I don't really want to carry this card around. Oh, but let me tell you, you can just right here in the Apple Wallet, just, I don't know, take a picture of it. I don't know what you're going to do to make the representation, but
well, here, let me hit plus and see what I can do right now.
It's about time, because I don't know what it's like.
Have you guys got your digital driver's license yet in Seattle? Or?
Washington State does not have that. I'm so sad. People have to remember the full name is United States of America. It's not U.S. It's not the States. It's not America. Those are shorthands, but it is 50 countries in a trench coat pretending to be one country. That is how we have built our system. So unfortunately, since there is no federal level driver's license equivalent, because a passport is not that, I do not benefit the way that, of course, California and I think Oregon has it. So it's like frustratingly close to the Pacific Northwest area where I'm at. So no, do you guys have the digital driver's license?
No, we don't. We don't get cool stuff like that because we don't live in America, right? Where Apple loves people. I live in Canada where Apple hates people. So we don't have Apple Card. We still don't. How many years have you guys had Apple Card now? 4 or 5 years?
No, it was, I think 2019 it came out, because I remember lamenting how cool it was when you go out to eat with friends and everybody's dropping their card to give to the waiter, and then like that heavy metal clink.
Because you had the titanium card.
The titanium card.
Nice.
And that didn't last very long because we got into lockdowns because of COVID. And now at this point, it's like, bro, that's like 7 years ago now.
Yeah. But you still have the account, though, right?
Still have the account.
Yeah, and you get 3% off your Apple stuff if you use that account, right?
Yeah, and it changes on various things to see promotions.
Yeah. We don't get any of that because we don't have access to the card. And we don't have Apple Cash. We don't have Apple Card.
I mean, I think you about blew a gasket that... Actually, I'm on this laptop. I bought this laptop, from 2019 when they had around December, I want to say Christmas time, a 6% on these MacBook Pros. I was like, oh my gosh, it's practically free at that price. Like, I might as well get it. Like, yeah. And it clearly lasted me 7 years. I think this is probably the year where I have to bite the bullet and move to Apple Silicon in whatever the latest and greatest is this fall. That, or Apple will force it upon me by cutting off this Mac from getting the latest Mac OS. That's my other bet. Like just watching the sliding window as they keep winnowing away the Intel Macs.
So I have a tech interview coming up soon, and I was asking around to see if I could get someone to do like a pretend interview with me, right? Mm-hmm. Just to sort of so I could get my chops, because I suck at. I go in cold to tech interviews, and I always suck at them, right? So I was thinking today I should get Claude to do a test. Just ask it to make up a a tech interview for me and see how I do with it, right? So,
I mean, you could do it as various people. You could have Mr. T. I pity the fool doing the tech interview.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because I used to do all the tech interviews at the bank, and when I was doing job interviews and stuff like that. But yeah, it's the tables are turned now, right? So. And I can't find an interviewer who is as patient and forgiving as I am, right? So, like I used to watch, I remember this one time watching somebody interview a person, and they gave them like one of those Google puzzles to work on, right? And they left them hanging at the whiteboard. And I would never have done that. I would have hey, let's figure it out and whatever, right? So, yeah. So
you could have, just to sort of keep it sort of vaguely on brand here, you could have it interview you as if it was J.K. Simmons, and you can choose here. You can be like, season 1 Omni-Man, J.K. Simmons, and Whiplash, J.K. Simmons, which is maybe the most appropriate for the job interviewing you.
Yeah, but I don't need, or Soldier Boy, you're pathetic. You're pathetic. Yeah. No, Dad, you're pathetic. That's what Homelander said. Anyway, long day. I had to shift my hours. I was working for Chicago since 2024. I had shifted my sleep schedule so that I get going around 10:30 in the morning. Because that's kind of when I would because they were an hour behind. You would show up at work at 10, right? And then stay up till way late, like 3 in the morning or whatever, 2 in the morning. But because of this is like a 9 to 5 thing I'm doing now, right? I've had to sort of reschedule my circadian rhythm so that, I get up at like 8 o'clock in the morning now instead of 9 or 10. So I'm tired.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Yeah. So, and I have to go watch some Steve Colbert before he's only got a couple more weeks to go. It ends in May, right?
It does end in May. When does it? Let's ask the Googles.
It's funny, he's had all these really amazing guests on, right? Because they all want to be on the last week, right?
Concludes its run Thursday, May 21st.
Wow, that's not that far. That's the night I go to see Mandalorian and Grogu.
So from this recording, it is 2 days, 2 weeks, exactly 2 weeks.
Wow.
I just assume he's going to end up like on Netflix.
He's going to be fine. He's going to be fine.
Or maybe just a YouTube channel, you know? He'll be like on Spotify and YouTube, go the kind of Joe Rogan experience route.
Well, there's what's the same thing as the Daily Show guy or that Bill Maher. You know, was it Bill Maher, that one that had the he still has a show going, right? Sort of thing. It's kind of obscure now because he's not in the public eye, but he's still doing his thing, right? Yeah, I don't know. And apparently Jimmy Fallon or Jimmy Kimmel is just like he's getting under the Trump skin without even trying, right? So I love it when he breaks the fourth wall and talks to Trump directly during his show. Thanks for watching, Mr. President. So we got November to look forward to, and then 2 more years, right?
It'll be pretty wild. I don't know what's going on in Canada, but tariffs have made prices crazy. Strait of Hormuz has made gas.
Gas is
like
insane.
$6 in my region. I think national.
So you guys are running into the same problem we had in that when we went from gallons to metric at the gas pumps, right? None of the displays at the gas stations or the actual readouts on the pumps could handle going to like our price of gas is like today the cheapest price I heard was $1.74, right, per liter, right? So multiply that by 4.5 to get gallons, right? But anyway, yeah, like you're getting to the point where I think $9.99 or $99.99 is as high as your pumps go. I heard that today, which is the same problem we had. We had to get all of our pumps had to get recalibrated, and because for a while there they were doing, because we didn't, because when we went from gallons to metric, when you looked at the price on the big light up thing on the as you're driving by, they had to figure out how to move the decimal around, because the decimal was hard coded, right? So yeah, so you guys are running it, because I saw that today. That I don't know what what would have gone to like. Can you put $100 worth of gas in a car? I guess you can, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I roll around in a Honda Civic, and I was down to quarter tank, maybe 20% tank, and it cost me. Oh, look it up on my Apple Wallet. Oh wait, you know what? I think I used a different card. It cost me. I'm sure this is so dramatic because I looked at this banking app and it slowly renders.
You got to make sure you use a rewards card because of you get something back, right?
It cost me $44.25
to do what?
To fill up from, what did I say? Like either a quarter tank or maybe 1/5 tank.
Yeah, and that's a 50-liter tank in a Civic, right? So how many gallons is that? Like
not
10?
Even the slightest clue. 13 to 20, I would guess.
Yeah, 10 or something. Yeah. It's pretty crazy. Yeah, but it's the same thing here. I mean, and all this
can't be. Hold on.
And it keeps changing. Like it's a moving target, right? And I don't know. I said to my wife yesterday, like, because we hear his voice on our radio news all the time, and I'm like, I don't even know why they put him on the news, because it just changes every day, right?
Yeah.
Today, blue is red, and next week red is blue, and up is down and down is up, and cats are sleeping with dogs, and dogs are sleeping with cats, and then the cats are eating the dogs, and dogs are eating the cats, and
doing some basic math, because I'm like, wait, that can't be right. So it must be like an 8 to 10 gallon tank, because $44 ish divided by about 6-ish is like 7-ish gallons, 7.5.
So it's $6 a gallon right now.
Yeah, it was like $5.85 because I had a little T-Mobile coupon.
Wow.
Yeah.
Crazy. What is it normally? What was it like a year ago or more?
We get I wonder if Vancouver runs into this problem. We get particularly hosed where like the country will generally be like $3, $3.25, like broad brush, and then we'll end up like $4.50. Which is what I kind of remembered tattooed in my brain for the longest time.
Is it trying to get the gas driven over the Rockies or something?
I have no idea. We need one of those deep pipelines, apparently.
Well, where does the majority of your American gas come from? Like, where is it? Texas or?
That is a very good question. Certainly, a lot of it would have to come from Houston. Because Texas has Jerry Jones, owner of the Cowboys, and old Texas oil money kind of stuff. But I am ignorant of where it actually comes from, and if it's regionally based or not.
It's ridiculous because all that oil or whatever that comes out of Calgary is bitumen, right? And all of the places that process the bitumen into oil is the United States, right? So the fact that, he's putting these tariffs on stuff, he's punishing the United States. He doesn't get it. I don't know. And the problem I don't think is particularly Trump. I think the problem is all the people around him who are enabling him and feeding Grandpa the lies, because he's like Grandpa Simpson. He's like being fed, whatever, right? So I don't know. My wife and I were talking about they ought to have a rule in the United States: you can't be president after you're like 65 or something.
That is a thing where lots of people would hate it, but I think there is a fairness to say, and the people in Brexit should be agreeing with me as well. People who suffered it from you shouldn't be able to make big, long-lasting changes knowing that, just do the math, you're halfway out the door.
Yeah,
right? You're farting in the elevator just as you're leaving for your floor. And something like Brexit is kind of the same thing of okay, cool, Grandma and Grandpa, you don't like this thing that happened, but you're not going to live with the ramifications. It's your children and grandchildren. Shouldn't you let them vote? You probably should abstain here. I think rightfully so, that there probably should be term limits and age limits. And I know we would miss out on the handful of great people like a Bernie Sanders or something. I'm like, yeah, that's true. We would also lose out on, oh, look, Senator such and such that's been in the Senate for 80 years is asleep again during this critical thing. It's okay, maybe it's time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it'd be nice to see something like AOC or Pete Buttigieg run, but I did want to say though, I've been watching, the other thing I should have talked about on my watch list is Saturday Night Live UK, right? It is, I find it much better than the American one's pretty good right now, right? But the Live in New York one, but the UK one, it's British humor, and it's they don't, it's not censored, so it's straight up, and they don't make Keir Starmer look like a rocket scientist. He looks like a real manipulative whatever, right? So yeah, it's really good. They've taken the whole formula from the New York show, but yeah, the humor is much better. The writers are much better. If you haven't caught it yet, check it out.
I feel I have not checked it out, so I will need to. I feel like the difference has to be. Let me take a step back. So Saturday Night Live was absolutely amazing during the first term, and it's been pretty mid. It's been very this one. I'm like, why? There's so much material. It should be even easier than last time, and I suspect they are holding or pulling their punches because they saw what happened to CBS, and they don't want to have to bend the knee. They don't want they can poke some fun, but justifiable fun instead of just letting it all hang out. I suspect that's what's happening. They saw the writing on the wall.
No, I mean, Saturday Night Live has had some real bad seasons for the last 50 years. I mean, there's been periods of time where they're standout performers, but there are entire series of casts that just could be just forgotten about. Like the Eddie Murphy period was great. I really enjoyed the Dennis. What's his name? The Dennis guy who did the news or whatever.
Oh,
yeah, he was good.
I see his face. He did Monday Night Football as well. Not Dennis Leary. Dennis.
Yeah, him. I was going to say Dennis Leary too. But I mean, and there was when Billy Crystal was on was not a good time.
Dennis Miller.
Miller. Yeah.
There's definitely eras, but I feel like some of the stuff they've written is dude, you had no idea what this skit was. Did you improv this from beginning? Because this didn't have an end. I don't understand a bad end. Sometimes they just don't have, too frequently, an end. I don't know.
Some of the characters are actually from their improv days, like the Chris Farley Van Down by the River was from his Second City days or his improv days, like that character, right? Because he worked on that with David Cross and who was David Cross's partner? Was it Stephen Colbert? No, Steve Carell, right? they had that show. They had Jonathan would know off the top of his head, but anyway, yeah, no, if you haven't checked out, even just find some of the clips on.
Oh wait, no, it would be probably if it was David Cross, it'd probably Bob Odenkirk, right?
Yeah, Bob Odenkirk, yeah, David Cross, yeah, because they worked together, and I mean these guys all Steve Carell and Stephen Colbert and David Cross and Odenkirk, they kind of all came out of that same school of comedy as well, right? So yeah, cool stuff. Anyway, all right, we should wrap it up.
Okay. Reminder, I am out Thursday the 14th. I'm actually out basically all that week traveling. Okay. So hopefully Jonathan's available for you guys to do the two-man show.
Yeah. Yep.
Thanks for being the Rock, Tim. You're the...
Yeah, I know. Well, I'm not always the Rock, but yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm. All right.
I'm the anchor. All right. Talk to you later.
Talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.